beter deze. Wel, ik wou iedereen bedanken hier in Mobile Monday team. Dus ik vind dat dit echt een heel geslaagd event is. Goede crowd, goede zaal en heel goede content. Proficiat voor de team hier en ook bedankt om mij te inviteren. I'm going to switch to my presentation in English. I'm going to try to give you an overview of the ecosystem of mobile and how that evolves, creating value. So I made a presentation which I call 15 tips to create value for mobile. First, I want to give you a little introduction on the ecosystem, where we're coming from in mobile actually. So this statement, I think it's very powerful, and it's a statement for the coming years. The mobile device becomes the people's primary interface to the internet and social networks. If you haven't noticed yet, this is really happening now. So we're currently in a very evolving ecosystem where we come from a totally closed ecosystem with operators and manufacturers and application and service providers in between. I use this slide here from Nokia. I think it's really interesting because it has all the phones since 1982. But actually in the middle here, around 2003, 2004, is where actually the phones and the services were able to connect to the internet. So these are very early days, but we're coming from a system with a billing system with SMS, which is very closed, business models with SMS premium, wallpapers and all that, which were totally controlled by operators basically. So there's also an evolving convergence, yeah, which is we have been talking a lot the last years, but this is actually really happening now. From HS, DPA, VC, DMA, GPS, DVB-H, Wi-Fi, WiMAX, Bluetooth, it all becomes available on the device. Increasing device capabilities, more memory, more battery power, better screen resolutions, better UI, all the devices become increasingly better and better to create better services and applications. Comes in Web 2.0 with the software above the level of a single device, the famous quote from O'Reilly, that also connect to the mobile. Driving internet service adoption further to mobile. So we see a lot of new platforms actually coming, with Apple coming into the space, Android coming into space, creating more and more internet access for applications and services, or creating more possibilities. This has created an explosion of new applications and services, which we call Mobile 2.0, where actually a lot of different layers, from location-based, voice over IP, recommendation technologies, a lot of different areas are covered in this slide actually. All connecting services, all connecting to the internet through the mobile. So, but where are we in this market space? I think this is a very interesting slide from, this is M-Metrics, which is actually a very good company who's doing really good analysis, analytical research on mobile. So if you see like mobile media usage, it's, you know, Spain and Italy have like 30%. US is catching up very quickly. SMS users in US basically has never taken off because the billing system is totally different than here, which is still in Europe very interesting. And 3G device owners, they grow very rapidly. You see already 36%, 37% in Italy or in these countries, and UK, Germany, and other countries picking up very fast too. So let's go to the tips. So if I'm just going to go over it because I think there are valuable tips from my experience, but if you don't like a tip, just pull your red card and I go on to the next one, yeah? So innovation is happening everywhere. This is a slide, the image is by Paul Watson. What I mean by this is actually once you connect the mobile to the internet, you really go into a global market with a lot of opportunities, for equal opportunities basically for every players. You can of course start a local startup and work on your local market first, but if you have an original idea, be bold and go for it. You know, go for it. It's a global space. So I think this is very valuable for startups. Choose your OS platform according to the needs, the competence, and the user target. You don't have to start developing for all the platforms at once. It's a huge task. So start really with know where your target user is and start developing for your user there. So if he's on the last range of the Nokia devices, well, develop for those first. If you prefer to develop an Apple application or iPhone application, go that way. And then you have also the business, BlackBerry, Windows Mobile still, and other open source platforms that are coming up, OpenMoco also, and Android. Linux also, and then still Java, and Flashlight is also a platform which is a lot used for mainly advertising or marketing, mobile marketing campaigns or actions. So the third tip is the power of openness, where I want to, actually what is happening now in the whole industry is we need more interoperability. The mobile value chain is very complex, so the industry, the big industry players are actually now putting forces together to create open standards, more interoperability, open platforms using open source. You all heard, I believe, about the Symbian story, which basically Nokia bought back Symbian and brought all the industry players together and promises within the next 2 years to make a complete open source platform. So it will be easier for everybody to connect to that platform and create more business and create more transactions. So I think this is a very good approach, also knowing that, of course, the iPhone comes up and Android is coming up also. So about Android, everybody is very critical about this, but I believe this is going to be a winner, just because there is Google is actually totally reinventing everything. Yeah, so what can you do if you have a company with 100 or 1,000 developers against the power of 1 million or 10 million developers? And this is actually what Google is doing. So they did this Google Developer Challenge, which I believe 10 winners got $275,000 and another 10 $100,000. But they collected a lot of applications already. They're going to be released pretty soon, I think by the end of this year or early next year. So you see also that there's a lot of actually new applications or old applications, old ideas coming back again. Yeah, so ideas we have seen in 2001, 2002 that were there, developed by other application providers or manufacturers. So the power of openness is also like you have startups that using open source, here the example is Funambol, but there are many of them that actually come out of that open source movement, which is a whole community, which is a beta testing community, and I believe there they have like 1 million downloads or something for mobile messaging platform, the most popular in US. Tip number 4 is use distribution channels. I think this is very important. If you have an application, you really have to get to the channels to get to the user. Nokia Mosh, most of them know this, I guess. They have already also, I think, something like 7 million downloads, or is it more? Funny thing here is actually that the iPhone ringtone is actually one of the most popular downloads also. The iPhone App Store, which I believe this is the new rock and roll of what is happening now. Before, when you were young, you wanted to be in a rock band, you wanted to be #1 in the hit parade. Now you want to create an iPhone app and you want to be #1 in the App Store, no? Many people don't seem to see this, but I believe this is only the beginning of something really powerful. The App Store was launched and it had like 60 million downloads. We're generating a revenue of $30 million. That's just the first month. So and I believe this is only the beginning, because iPhone development, there's a lot of iPhone or web developers actually now just going to iPhone, which in mobile was more complex because there was a very closed system. So this whole system is going to open up. So I believe this is going to be $1 billion business soon, really. Other channels outside iPhone is GetJar, of course, which some local startups have been really using well, like eBuddy and Nimbus are very popular on that platform. But this is probably the most powerful platform in mobile. I think they have something like 300 million downloads, and an average application can get 50 to 100,000 downloads a week or a month. That's pretty good to start a business, yeah? Other channels like AdMob or advertising channels, you can use them very easily with low budget, start easily and rapidly. I believe AdMob or Russell was speaking here before. So I use this slide also to basically have a word on the emerging markets like Africa, South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya. I think all these countries have 20% growth in one quarter, in the last quarter, from Q1 to Q2. So this is a very emerging market also. And Nokia, of course, has a dominant share in those top 5 countries. Think global, act viral. With this, I want to basically explain a bit like get to your user base, use the functions of the phone, which is by nature a natural viral instrument. So use the Bluetooth function. This startup, Aki, is a German startup, which is actually based on getting people to know through events using the Bluetooth function and making it a viral instrument. So out of just the message that I get, I can forward that easily to other people and use the viral function. On or off deck, this is probably one of the most difficult issues, I think, whether to decide where you want to go, working with an operator or totally next to the operator. So the operators, if you go next to the operator, the road can be long, yeah, and to generate cash, it might be pretty tough. More operators are opening up also to startups and new projects to integrate them in their strategy. So if you can, if you deal with operators, the road might be long, the negotiations might be long, but if you get to an operator portal, of course you have access to millions of users also. So here you have Betavine, which most of you I think know, and also companies like Telefonica, O2. Everybody starts like building platforms also to put your applications there and learn about how to work with operators. Application or browser, this is also one of the fields there's going to be a lot of action the next coming years. The Americans mainly have the positioning of accessing everything through the browser, where we in Europe, we know with an application you can access more functionality. Some applications don't need, or some services don't need to have an application, like Facebook for the moment. Doppler, Twitter, easily accessible applications on the web or the mobile web. But if you want to access like a location, it's better to have an application. If you need functionalities like addressbook, picture, camera, or audio video, like Seismic, you need to, it's better to have an application. I think it's also a bit of the rumor of that applications or people don't want to install applications is a bit overroepen, dat ze zeggen. Sorry, couldn't find the word. But this is, I think more and more people are really downloading applications. The figures are showing that. So this is also a slide from AdMob on what is actually the browser market share. So Nokia browser has a big part of the market, OpenWave, AccessNet, Opera Mini and all that. And then only Microsoft Mobile Explorer, the business accesses, BlackBerry and all that. And then Safari from the iPhone. Still there is space for startups that enter in this space, like Skyfire, which is a browser that's based totally on Flash and on the rich media functionalities, bringing video to mobile. And also interesting is the Fennec Mozilla project, which is actually Mozilla is currently building a browser for mobile that's going to work with a plugin system. You're going to download and install plugins within the browser. They're going to launch the beta version by the end of this year. I think this is very promising. This might actually revolutionize also the mobile web browser access and market. I believe so, yeah. 5 minutes, okay. Ubiquitous access. I think if you develop applications, it's important to to basically integrate all the possibility access methods. Think about the user in which situation he can be, that he can access through 3G, Wi-Fi, or other methods like Bluetooth. Contents relevant location. I did some experiments here while I was in Portugal this summer, and what is very interesting actually, Google Maps, they have a very good map, but there's no services. So you can easily find a location and then you don't know what to do with it. So, and then actually Nokia, the mapping is probably less interesting, less good, but then they have a button with services. You can browse restaurants, you can browse bars and anything else in the neighborhood, which is well developed. Nokia also acquired Places, which is basically the missing link to get user input on location. It's very important. There's a lot of startups actually working in that space now, location. Gypsy, Yell, BuddyPing, Buzzard Loop, Scout, World, Socialite. Most of them are working into mapping and building services around, but just think about also bringing services of value from a location without a map, because many people can't read a map. Presence. This one is a nice one, Zipico, which is actually building a kind of layer on top of Twitter. It's a Finnish startup that just comes out of university, and where actually they're going to say what I'm going to do later at that moment. So I can input something that I want to do at a certain place, and then people that are actually there or see that on the web can join you, and you can invite friends. So this, they are working also on presence, and I believe in any kind of application service, think about presence as a main factor. Address book functionality, of course. I'm always surprised that not many startups are actually using this functionality, which is your first access to social network. Synchronization compatibility is also very important, that you don't want to do twice or triple all the things you need to do on your mobile phone, your data synchronization with your PC or your laptop. So this has to be fluid. Very few people do this well. Create compelling user experiences. This is actually Martin Cooper, the inventor of the mobile phone. So what I mean with this is like also, if you create a user experience, test your application, do user group, do testing groups, make sure you create a compelling user experience, which doesn't always need to be on the screen. It can also imply an application that you need to download, make it a seamless experience. And things about voice, for example, you can do many things, or think about location-based voice, location-based video, all things that can be done. Mobile users love social media. I think we all know that. People love to input, love to share with their friends. This slide actually I did it for Ima, who's going to talk later, because there is here an interesting percentage of users, mobile users, related to the fixed internet users. So you see from Facebook.com is like 12%, MySpace 5.8, Windows Live Spaces is 9.2, Vivo 3, and Google 1. So the bigger the social network is, the more traction you get on mobile also. I think this is an interesting lesson also. So, and then my last one is monetization. Many people talk about. I'm totally confident that there's a lot of revenue and different models in mobile user-generated content. Going from mobile advertising, MVNOs as Blik that focus on a target user group and build services around that, the App Store or other stores, digital goods, brand licensing, content licensing, sponsorship, subscription revenues, paper downloads, affiliate revenues, live events, source also of like, there's a lot of revenue to be made with this kind of content and live content, and then API fees, and there's many more. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a it's time for Q&A. Claire, are there any questions, comments out of the audience?
Yeah, choose your platform. But what I don't understand is how often is a target group defined by a platform segment. So whether you choose for Symbian, which is typically Nokia, or the iPhone, my users aren't bound by a certain platform. I have to develop for multiple platforms in order to reach all of my users.
Yeah, but I think that, for example, you have the high rates of Nokia phones that go more to business people. These are not the youngsters that have these phones. Yeah? Then you have certain types of series that are provided for these phones. iPhone is something different. So I mean that I think the mobile space is really something that you can do a lot of things better to a different target group. So because a lot of people, they start developing applications for different platforms, and in the end they see actually, oh, my target group is actually using only that type of phones. I mean, it's just that knowledge. Yeah, so.
Any other questions?
Hi, my name is David Kruiswijk. Do you see many applications being built in the realm of governance and social structures like municipalities and government?
I think there's a couple in the mobile clicks, startup sessions, but no, not exactly. I haven't seen so much. I think this is really a space where there's a lot of opportunity. So it's for entrepreneurs with opportunity that want to take positions now, especially on a global market scale. But there's definitely a lot of space also for municipalities or application services developed for these kind of services.
Are there any tips missing? Does the audience have another tip they want to add? Was it a complete story, I guess? Yeah? No more questions? Okay, thanks a lot, Rudy, again. We go to the next speaker, Ajit.